Welcome to the Women's Money and Democracy Committee's September 16th presentation about homelessness and housing in the state of North Carolina. The presenter will be Tana Hartman from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Take it away, Tana.
Thanks. Okay. Well, you all know the stuff, the national stuff from HUD, the annual homelessness assessment report that was published in January. And so I was looking at it for my state and discovered in doing that, well, that in my state, except for homelessness among a certain subgroup of veterans, that homelessness is higher than it's ever been here, and it's climbing rapidly. So it's the highest it's been since the count began in 2005. And the only bright spot, as I said, is that veterans' homelessness has declined. And when I looked up, why it was declining, it turns out that the VA had been doing some really good outreach with veterans in the past few years. The thing that really distresses me is that homelessness among families with children account for something like 28% of the homeless. And that's, yeah, okay. Oh, and unaccompanied youth. There are more and more of those that are turning up homeless, and homeless with what are their designations are unsheltered or sheltered, and unsheltered just means they're sleeping outside. They don't have a place to stay. And there are quite a lot of those, many of them young, because they're new at it. They don't know where to go. They're scared. And so we have a number of groups here that are out almost every day anymore, out trying to reach out and find the people who are homeless and get resources to them, whether it's bringing them food, bringing them clothing, bringing them, whatever it is. But there's some great groups. We have a long list of groups in North Carolina that are really working on this very, very hard out there and trying to reach out to everyone who's homeless. And our governor, Josh Stein, where is it? I just had it here. He just issued an executive order, number 25, restarting something that ended a few years ago, but it is a group that is looking at homelessness and all the ways and that we can do to help it in the state. And he has said that he wants to make this a priority. He has gone back to the federal government and with his budget and asking for more money, because they shorted us, of course, on money for the Helene, and but he's getting a lot of support, and I'm hopeful that it will work out well. But I was really pleased that he immediately turned around when all this was starting, and he said, we can't just sit by and watch this happen. So he pulled a whole bunch of people working on homelessness around the state and brought them together, and now it's this really wonderfully coalescing and coordinating long list of groups that are working together on homelessness and how to fight it here, and find the different ways of funding. And they're looking into the ways in which they're funded by Congress, whether it's by appropriation, or what is the other one? What is the other way? It's not through the appropriations process, but direct appropriation. No, it's not appropriation. It's direct. Oh, something. Anyway, but turns out there are quite a few ways to fund, and I know other states too must have groups like this working. I was surprised at North Carolina because I always think of them as so conservative, but it seems that this is an issue that, at least around here, well, partly because we live in a very expensive little enclave here in Chapel Hill with the university and Research Triangle and uh, Raleigh nearby. And even in our community, nearly half of all families who do not own their own home, well, no, whether they own or not, nearly half of all families are what is called cost burdened. And that is something HUD designates if you pay more than 31% of your income on housing, that is considered, you're considered cost burdened. And in North Carolina, those in around the big cities, those numbers have really been going up around Asheville. That there are civil engineers up there making $100,000 who cannot afford to buy a home. Yeah, and someplace else that I was reading where dentists making 200,000 a year could not afford to buy a home now. It's the housing prices. It's so outrageous. The housing prices, and we have several new initiatives though for building affordable housing, but of course those are under threat too from the administration. I want to recommend to folks, if you don't know it, the Paycheck to Paycheck report that is published by the National Housing Conference. And their most recent one looks at 2019 to 2024. It's called Priced Out: When a Good Job Isn't Enough, Housing Unaffordability for America's Workforce. And that's where I got the figures about that, because they track affordability changes in nearly 400 metropolitan areas, the MSAs, what they call metropolitan statistical areas. And in the US, huh?
What was the title of that last report? Paycheck to Paycheck Report, Housing Unaffordability.
Priced Out is the title. Priced Out: When a good job isn't enough. Housing Unaffordability for America's Workforce.
Thank you.
The National Housing Conference. And their key findings are what we all know, is that homeownership costs have skyrocketed, and rents are unaffordable for nearly 50% of all the tract occupations. They cannot afford a two-bedroom apartment. 47% of all the tract occupations cannot afford a two-bedroom apartment, and that is up from 38% in 2019. Yeah, it's the thing. The prices are out of reach. Rents and house to buy a house and wages are way down. We need to expand the supply, and we're really trying to do that here in North Carolina. I've been surprised to see how many affordable developments are popping up around the place, around the state.
What is considered affordable?
It is typically, what is it? Some percentage of the your median income. What do they call it here? I have it somewhere.
I'm sorry, it's okay.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
What we have here in Newton, you know, a smaller city in Massachusetts, is that things are affordable if you're making over 190 with two people working. But if you're making more like 100 and wait a minute, what am I saying? 50 or 60,000. I'm sorry, is what I was really getting 50. Then it's not affordable anymore. It just
No.
not. And it doesn't last. These affordable things are for X number of units that
Mhm.
they last for 5 or 6 years, and then they get squeezed into the regular payments of housing. Well, that's my.
What do you mean? What do you mean regular payments?
I'm sorry, the affordable doesn't last very long, maybe half a dozen years. And then it's no longer in an affordable housing market, that it's been
Level.
slipping back into the
Okay.
typical market. And
I think that's among the things they're looking at now. They're trying to identify the problems with it in the thing and find ways to address them. I've been reading, but I haven't been keeping up. I can't tell you everything I've been reading just because I've been a little busy and um
you're doing great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
um
You are doing great, but I'll comment with Eileen if I can.
go ahead. What?
That is the same thing that we're hearing here in Wisconsin, that the developers have such control over so much, like you have to beg them to do an affordable project. And yeah, the rent control only lasts for a short period of time. And
Mhm.
when I learned that, it came as a surprise to me. Anyway, so it's not just you out in Massachusetts. It's probably common. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I believe it is around the country because although I've mostly been looking at the resources for my state, and there are some really good ones I'm pleased to find. But I've also been looking for the nation and seeing that I'm seeing the same complaints reflected everywhere, you know, and we know what we've got to do. We've got to reel in the billionaire, you know,
Mhm.
the billionaire class, and figure out how to create a government for ourselves. Yeah, because they were really, oh God. Yeah.
Did you come across any of this research about what are called private equity investors buying up housing everywhere to turn it
Yes. Yes.
Airbnb, or just to have it sit there as an investment? That's
Yes. And in fact, one of the biggest is BlackRock.
Yeah. So did you see anything about how much that's affecting your area?
No, I haven't seen anything specifically looking at that here, but that's a good question. I will look that up. But I do know that it's going on, but I also I don't know. I would like to know more about the actual development, but I do know that in our area, because I've liked to drive, and so I go out and drive the county roads in my part of North Carolina and have been just blown away by the developments, huge developments, and a lot of them starting at, $500,000 and up, or that's actually cheap down now. But there are a few where they are factoring in a certain percentage, and the towns are wising up and saying, no, we need you to give us more for, affordable housing. And
Because the employees that the businesses in the towns need can't afford to live there.
yeah,
It's very widespread throughout the country these days.
It is. Yeah, a lot of people can't live in Chapel Hill, even though they work here at the university. Housekeepers, because I was on the one of the task forces for the housekeepers here at the university. And they can't afford to live here.
So they live in surrounding smaller towns and have to drive in every
They're
day?
out in the country, yeah. Talked to one who drove an hour every day to get.
And so they're living in older housing? They're not living in those fancy developments you're seeing?
No, they're not typically living in the developments.
There are still old towns out there?
Yeah, there are still little towns, a lot of little towns.
Mm.
Mhm.
Good. Any cooperative housing development?
Yes, there are some, but there aren't a lot of them yet. But
Yeah.
I think more of those will come. We have several around here, but they're typically more expensive. They're put together by people who are retiring academics or something like that, and they can afford, to spend $200,000 to go in on, these cooperatives. But
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
cool you've got numbers, even if they're just ballpark.
Yeah, well, yeah.
On the co-op thing, I'm just gonna put in the chat a article that was just in the Sunday newspaper, either this Sunday or last. I was reading it only today.
Yeah.
But it's on cooperatives in Switzerland, Lausanne,
Oh,
Switzerland. And it's pretty interesting for the comparison between how they're doing it there and how, I mean, they don't talk about how it's done here, but just
yeah.
shared that now because Jean
There
mentioned.
was something in the Sunday Times about that in
That's
Switzerland.
it. That's
That's
it.
it. Okay, yes. All right. I
Yeah.
saw that.
Thank you, Jean.
Hi, I'm just
Right.
showing you a card that I got from Greensboro Habitat for Humanity. And when I mentioned Habitat for Humanity in another program, organization, a Black woman spoke up and she said, I think she's in Georgia. And I said, yeah, but they don't build homes for Blacks or minorities. But if you look at the picture here in Greensboro, most all of the families are Black or of color and, BIPOC families. So I have sent some money to Greensboro Habitat for Humanity because
Oh,
I have
Greensboro, North Carolina.
yeah, I have a friend there, in
Okay.
Greensboro. And
Yeah.
yeah, to honor him, he lost his wife, and I said in memory of
Yeah.
my friend who passed away there.
Oh, that's so
Mm.
cool, Jean.
Yeah.
Donna, did you hear anything more? Did you see anything out there about Habitat? Is Habitat a,
Yes, actually, we do have a strong habitat here. And I
Yeah.
just saw something today. Where did I see it? Where Habitat was offering a class to help people learn how to help in their communities. Because yeah, I thought, oh, I want to go back and look at that. Anyway, yeah, we do have a really good habitat folks here too.
I don't-
everywhere.
It
city?
usually requires the people, the future owners, to help build the
Mhm.
homes so that
Sweat
they,
equity. Yeah,
yeah, sweat it, right,
Yeah.
right.
yeah. And all right. Well,
I'll add something if you do have a lot more
go
time.
ahead. No, I don't actually.
Because you mentioned workforce housing and especially workforce housing in the cities where people can't afford to live.
Yeah.
Tell a story that doesn't really fit when we do a Wisconsin report. It's kind of a sideline, but a friend of mine, a fellow raging granny and lawyer who has been faithful with her evangelical Lutheran church for her entire life. And it's a church that's 110 years old, 3 blocks off the Capitol Square. And the congregation is dwindling and aging. And they decided, you know what, housing. we've got this fabulous real estate with this value. Let's donate this site
Mhm.
for 10 stories of affordable housing for working people who work downtown. And we'll just keep the bottom floor for our services and our things
Good, yeah.
we do for the community. Okay, everything went fine. Oh, the county signed up and the city signed up, and they had the funding pretty organized. When COVID came along, everything got set back a little bit, but a little bit to the point where now the whole project is in jeopardy. Of course, the developer never liked it.
Yeah.
But so this tremendous gift that is meant to provide some housing for some needy but working people is the whole thing is on the rocks now. They might not even be able to do it. They might have to sell it into the development market.
Mm.
And so because so that, like, I don't know, it's like the county board and the city council want to support it, but they don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the power in the market. Whatchamadinger. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I'm pretty heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Well, I can tell a story about a center in Newark, New Jersey. I'm putting the link in the chat, which was founded by a Catholic priest after the riots in the 60s in New Jersey, in Newark, which, burned down so many of the projects. His church, not a real wealthy church, but his church raised money to build an apartment building. And they did it just to keep to try to house people who no longer had a home. But and they were pretty naive about it. They didn't realize that this would mean constant income. So as a nonprofit, they were getting all this income from rents. And what do we do about this? Well, they used it to build more apartment buildings. And they created an entire community with job training, charter schools, career counseling. It has become not only a successful community model, but a political powerhouse, because the leaders of that, it's called the New Community Corporation, have become advisors to the mayors of Newark and the NAACP and all of those organizations in town. It's a remarkable story. If you have a chance to look at the link, check it out.
Oh, thank you for that.
Mhm.
And I think if you remember there was a program at An Economy of Our Own a while back, which interviewed a woman from Bergen County, New Jersey, who had created a new form of housing services, which had pretty much eliminated homelessness in Bergen County. I encourage you to go look at that recording if you haven't for a while. It was really excellent. Uh, I'll try to put it in the chat in a minute when I can.
It was
Lucille,
excellent. That's true.
Lucille has her hand up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just had the idea, and not that we all need new work, but maybe one byproduct of this whole series on housing that just is triggered by the number of people that have some connections with Habitat here. And what Mary said, and I wrote in the chat about the Habitat group here, which my spouse is very linked to, and I somewhat, but that the pandemic really hurt them a lot, in part because they worked with universities, and everything went virtual. And anyhow, the idea would be wouldn't it be interesting if local WILF chapters where there are habitat groups, connect with them and maybe connect with youth groups or university groups and stimulate them if they're not already involved with habitat to get involved, because WILF tends to be older people, which, might be limited on the site, but anybody who shows up gets a job to do on a habitat site. And anyhow, it could be a practical matter to at least put in our notes and maybe think about. And I see Eileen's hand, so.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was on the Social Action Committee for many years at my Unitarian church, and a habitat worker was always involved for one event per year. Anybody who wanted to volunteer, we had to pay, I think, $100 or $200 so they could volunteer. Mostly because that person was going to be helping to pay for some of the wood or the supplies needed for the build.
Mm.
So it may call it's called volunteering and paying to volunteer.
Well, that's interesting.
I don't think it worked that way here. That is very interesting. Where was that? In what town?
Well, it's in Newton, but the building often was in an abutting city or a branch of Boston, basically. Yeah, there's a lot of metro connected parts of the Boston.
Mm-hmm.
One way to raise money.
Well, Tana, do you have any closing remarks about the housing before we move on?
Well, that it's worse and better than I thought. It's worse economically for a lot of people, and I did not realize how many people are really struggling.
Mm.
But
Did you have any indication of how the big beautiful bill will affect any of these housing starts or housing programs?
no, not yet. I have seen several comments saying we are waiting to see.
Mm.
So people are on tenterhooks.
Mm-hmm.
But and looking at several have already, realized that their money's being clawed back,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for other sources of funding.
Several organizations.
Yes.
Can I'm trying to imagine what kind of organizations. Can you say something a little more about one of them?
Yes, one of them is working on homelessness here, but it's a very small one in North Carolina. Where's my book?
It's one of the volunteer groups.
It's a volunteer group that had been doing well in recent years, but now it's struggling too much.
And they had been getting some federal funding.
I think they had been, yes. They
I
had been getting, oh shoot, I can't remember what it was anyway, but I remember reading about them. I don't remember which one it was.
Well, it doesn't matter which one it was. I was just curious what kind of outfit you're talking about.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate the names of the organizations and reports you gave us, the research that you and others have done on these reports. Mary Beth and Stacy are all that research is helpful to those of us who are coming towards the end of the end of the series. You've helped a lot. And a question that I've been wondering all the while, and you kind of answered it, Tana, in this report, but I would like to hear from the other states too as we go forward. How long has housing been considered a crisis? And I know I pinned somebody down a little bit about this last time, maybe Mary Beth, that how long has it been such a crisis? And is it just continuing to grow and grow, this problem? And do we have some kind of answer to why. So, but you don't have to try to answer it now. I just want to say that in our housing reports from everywhere, that is a really interesting question to me.
There's a very high percentage of homeless people who are on the streets because of medical debt. Um, so that the fact that we do not have nationalized health care, and that even more people are going to be losing their benefits through this big, beautiful bill, is going to increase the amount of homelessness that cities and states will be dealing with. So that's one reason for it. There are also other mental health issues. There are drug issues involved. And there's, we have a very unstable economy right now.
Yes, we do.
You can't cut all of those government jobs that they're cutting, and disincentivize companies from continuing employment, and not expect that this will impact the homelessness situation, and the whole economic picture in the cities and towns where these companies are that are laying people off right and left. So it's a complex situation, but the answers are pretty well defined. And it starts with funding. And we've been cutting that tremendously for probably since around the 1990s.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I just want to add one more to that list. It's a great summary of the reason why, Mary Beth. Student debt too. A lot of
Yes.
young people on the streets, and it's not just drugs.
Right.
No, it's not. Actually, I was looking at some of that stuff, and the drugs are not as bad as they'd have us think sometimes.
All right, well, thank you so much, Tana. And this has been a report from Women, Money, and Democracy Committee of WILPF US. It's part of a series of reports that we're doing on states and cities where our members reside. And we'll have other reports coming up in the next few months. Thanks very much. I'm going to stop the recording.
On Tana's last point, I just want to say,